session to discuss union negotiations and litigations that otherwise would be detrimental to discuss in public. So we've been through the roll call. Mrs. Winslow is absent this evening, home. She called me earlier and said that the doctor said she was contagious, so I asked her to make sure she didn't come and sit next to me, because, knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky. And not to get Rich sick either, so Mrs. Winslow is watching from home tonight. So, Kara, we wish you well, speedy recovery, and we'll move on to announcements. And Mr. Slavin has been selected as the clerk for the evening, so this ought to be fun. Do you have any announcements?
I have. Okay, I can do that. We have for the Sandy Hook collections for the hurricane disaster. We're still ongoing in town with collecting stuff. Basically, they're now looking for gift cards, which could be from things like Home Depot, Lowe's, Target, Walmart. Gift cards from local chain restaurants that would be in that area as well. Obviously, you have the fast food restaurants, etc. Any place that has building goods or clothing as well. And they're going to do a collection on the 16th, which is a Saturday, at the Eastern Bank. And that will be from 9 to 11 o'clock. There'll be people there in order to pick up the donations. As far as it'll take cash too if someone wants to do that, or checks as well. And then the second one will be on the 22nd, which is a Friday, from 11 to 2 o'clock at the Eastern Bank again. That's all I have. Peter?
Just one thing that actually came up today. I was in the YMCA pool and was talking with the aquatics director. And beginning March 7th, the YMCA is going to be commencing its annual drive seeking donations to support families and children who are unable to afford the usual dues to become YMCA members. So I said I would pass that along. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep. On Thursday this week, the coffee hour here at the Multi-Service Center begins at 9, and this week's special guest is our very own Mr. Guy Campina, the director of our water treatment facility. He will be there answering questions and talking about the water treatment facility. So if you're around on Thursday morning, come on down, have a cup of coffee, and sit with Guy. The next announcement is, and I have to be kind of general here, because I do. Let's just put it that way. I received a call, or an email actually, from the Finance Committee to schedule an executive session for tomorrow evening. So it was very short notice. I contacted Rich and the other board members. I sent a copy of that email to Jeff Sweat because, as you know, the Board of Selectmen and the school committee have really made a commitment, and the Finance Committee as well, have made a commitment, I think, that the three boards will work very closely together as we go through this turbulent time in terms of finances. This board has taken several votes to make that happen. So I returned the email suggesting and copied Mr. Sweat, but the answer was no, we'd rather do the Board of Selectmen and the school committee separately. So anyway, the bottom line is I posted a meeting for tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. In conjunction with the Finance Committee, and I'm canceling that meeting. There are, the Board of Selectmen will not be there. Mr. Bowen will not be there. We are going to move forward, and my response to the Finance Committee will be a request to postpone the meeting to a different date, certainly in the near future, here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to reiterate my point that I'd like to see the school committee at the same time so that the three boards are sitting down together. And the most important issue is the agenda. The Board of Selectmen have to be very, very extremely careful. You know, we have our executive meetings. Nothing that's in those meetings can be discussed, as you all know. And without a proper agenda with some detail to it, I just feel at this time that the Board of Selectmen should not be going to a meeting like that. So I'm going to make that announcement. I'll send an email off to, and Mr. Sullivan can follow it up. But we want to have the meeting. We want to be able to give information to the Finance Committee. It's not about hiding information. It's about having a proper agenda and general topics. Mr. Bowen, I'll give you a minute if you need to address anything further on that, or if I covered it well, or...
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you've covered it very well, just from the legal perspective. If there are going to be the law pertaining to executive session only allows us to go in to discuss certain topics, and when we announce that we go into executive session, we always identify what those topics are going to be. So it's very important for us to have an agenda, a listing of the subjects that are going to be discussed, so that we can make sure that this board is in compliance with the law when we go into executive session, which I think is what you've expressed all along. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? How about anyone like to speak to the board tonight in the town citizen? Mike, come on up. You have to speak real close to the mic.
Good evening. My name is Michael Bessie. I'm here tonight to make a proposal to you that I hope you will agree with. As you know, we've got new business in the village of Onset, and I think if the town can try maybe to work some things down in the village to show those people that they're appreciated and help them maybe expand even bigger or better than where they are would be a help. And what I'm proposing, in talking to the business people, I find that there's been a number of people coming from the other side of the canal by boat in the summertime. So what I would like to see, if you would agree with, if someone comes to the village by boat and goes to one of the businesses in the area, if it's possible that if they got a stamp from that business or brought their receipt from that business back to the town pier, they not be charged for the time that the boat is moored at the dock or stays at the dock. In checking with them, it seems as though there is quite a few people that actually would prefer in the summertime to come in by boat. And if not having to pay that fee at the pier, they would come more often, it would probably help those businesses in the area. So that's what I'm proposing, is to see if you would give free mooring to anyone that comes in and goes to a business in the village.
That's an interesting concept. There's been a lot of discussion around town in the village about trying to get back even a taxi service, because you know we have what, 2, 3, easily 100 boats out there.
Yeah, they were talking about a launch service.
And we only have, we're limited in the number of spaces where they can park. A launch is the word I'm using. That's the word I was looking for. Not a taxi. A water taxi, I guess, or a launch. I know that that's been kicked around by John and some of the other guys down there for the last couple of years. And I think a program like that could go a long way.
I believe I believe that our harbor master has actually had discussions on a launch service, and you could have you could have coupons and things like that. It's if you go to downtown Boston, you go into a big office building. If you go to a particular place and you're doing business, they'll give you a coupon to go downstairs. You don't have to pay the parking ticket. There's an incentive. So I don't see any reason, but it probably should go through the town administrator and with our guidance, and work with the harbor master as well, because it's on the drawing boards, but it's just beginning.
Okay.
So I think that would be the
And I
best
think
way.
a lot of the businesses kick into that fund too, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you lose a lot.
They would
revenue.
they would advertise, come by boat and we'll give you
Right.
50 cents off on a drink or something like that.
Trouble with the launch is we don't have enough, at the moment, we don't have enough town moorings down there.
No, we don't. But again, depending on what you want to do, again, you have to go through the harbor master. But if you were to, what they do over the vineyard at Oak Bluffs, there's limited spaces there too. But what happens is they start, they basically put them out one on top of the other, and you have one boat against the dock, and then you get about 10 more boats going out into the harbor, tied off to each other going out. There's ways around it all.
Yeah, I know in Falmouth even now they won't even bring you into the dock if they can stick you out.
Yeah.
And then you just go over the chat room and stuff, and yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of people who sit out there and can't get in. Peter, did you have a comment before we?
Yeah, I was just curious. I think we have to know exactly who the fee-setting authority is, and go to that person or that entity and figure it out from there. I know the harbor master typically controls the pier. I just want to make sure that we're not talking about a town meeting vote or something like that to change a fee structure like we have for certain other matters. I don't know that we do, but I think that's
And the boss is listening, and he's smiling at it. So I think he sees some. And Salpina or CETA can also help with that sort of a
Yeah.
program for community economic development. But I think it's a good idea, Mike.
Yeah.
Are you saying to me that I should meet with the town administrator, or?
Yeah, I would say let's get a meeting with Derek and talk to Derek, and I think I don't want to speak for him, but I think the next step would be to find Gary or Sal.
Yeah, obviously, I'd want to bring the harbor master in on this. This is his purview. We'd work together on there with you to try and see what we could come up with.
And the OBA might be interested in working with the sponsorships and things. I think it's a great idea.
There's,
But-
from my understanding, it sounds like there was already works going on, so it might be interesting to get all the interested parties and
Yeah.
make sure that when we're doing it correctly.
You have Mike's
So
information, right?
I believe if I don't, Gary does. I'd say.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, moving right along. You have an application for a one-day malt license. Is anyone here? Come on up, sir, please. How are you this evening?
Very good, thank you.
If you could speak real loud and clear and let us know what your event is.
It's a function for 125 to 135 people, and it's for Mass Maritime.
I see you have your tips training. Any questions, Mr. Teitelbaum?
no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
Nope, everything's in place.
Okay, you have a motion.
Motion to approve a one-day license at the Bay Point Club LLC, 19 Bay Point Drive, Onset, Mass, for the date of 2/23/13, from the hours of 6 to 11 p.m. at 19 Bay Point Drive, Onset, for the sale of beer and wine for profit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 3-0-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You can swing by the office and pick that up.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, we have a use of town roads. There he is. Welcome. We haven't seen you all winter. Where you been?
Thank you.
I
Good-
thought you were
good to see
coming back in
everyone.
October. Larry McDonald will be upset, He had his crew all ready for your, the second event. Never happened.
That's right. Well, it does, as you know, it takes a good year of planning, but I am back. Just a brief introduction. Tim Richmond, race director with Max Performance and the Escape the Cape Triathlon. So we are here today proposing the 4th annual race, which would be happening on Saturday, June 8th, 2013, down in Onset Village on the pier. We are excited to bring another year of triathlon back to Onset and Wareham. Again, we are focusing this year on a one-day event, which would be happening on that Saturday with a swim, bike, and run, all happening from the pier. Lots of great action. We had, again, on that Saturday, we had 700 athletes. Some inclement weather on Saturday forced some athletes not to arrive, and we had to adjust the swim last year. But nonetheless, we still had a very positive event. We just wanted to thank all the the boards and committees that were there. I think last year we probably had several members of the Board of Selectmen that came and volunteered. Mr. Slave.
I saw a picture this morning as I was cleaning off one of my desks. I saw a picture of Mr. Teitelbaum and I at the Sunday event.
Yes.
At the finish line.
Yes, that was.
And are you saying we're not going to have the Sunday event?
Yeah, at this point in time, it looks as though the attendance and the draw was a little bit low for that Sunday event to bring it back again. We were really happy to give it a shot and try it out in 2012, but unfortunately, we won't be bringing that back in 2013.
Because that was a great event, I thought.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, I remember your comment on Sunday.
Yeah, it really was. But we'd also like to just thank two members of the OBA, the Friends of the Wareham Bike Path Committee, as well as the Gleason Y, and all the countless volunteers that were out there.
And Larry McDonald, I mean, he recruited, 40 volunteers
That's
on
right.
his own?
That's right. And we're going to be in touch with
He made sure that
Larry.
nobody stayed home on Saturday or Sunday.
No, it was great. We had a wonderful turnout. So, again, we're really excited for it. And
Well, we're excited
look forward to it.
that you're here for the first date anyway.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get 2 out of you this year.
Well, we'd be happy to take some more suggestions and talk again. We do a lot throughout the year. We do 5 other events, in coordination. But
Well, we're happy to have you. We've got a nice relationship growing now. This will be, our 4th?
yeah, this is the 4th year.
And I think, it all works together well, and we'd love to do more with you. So
Great.
you're
Thank
always
you.
welcome here, you know that.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Actually, this one comes from through me from our town administrator. He wanted to know if you did any kayaking events ever.
We have not orchestrated any kayaking events. We have quite a few kayaks we own to support the lifeguards. But no, we haven't explored that as far as kind of maybe through the kind of waterways or something of that nature. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if people actually race kayaks or
Yeah, they do.
they do, huh?
Yes.
Shows how little I know about it. Maybe when we're down there this summer, we can pull you aside from the race and
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. That's good.
And I hope you have better weather there for your one day than you did for the first day last year. That was a little hectic with
We
the
did.
swim being canceled. So
Yeah, we had to rely on some contingency plans, but again, thank you to the police department as well as the harbor master for pulling that together with us
Yeah.
in making the event happen too. So it turned out to be a safe day despite some rainy and windy conditions.
Yeah.
Well, we'd only end up with two days in a row that rain in Onset. So if you get a little rain on the 8th, we got the 9th already taken
Very
care
good.
of, right?
That's right.
All right. Alan?
Tim, I noticed we don't have a sign-off from the police department. Are you working on that?
We've been in coordination in the past. I'm not sure if there was a question or anything
I don't
about
think
that.
so. It's just
Okay.
I've got everybody else here in the paperwork, but I don't have anything from the police department.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. That there wasn't a sign off. So
If
I mean,
you-
I'd be happy to follow up with.
If you could. I think
Yeah,
it's probably
absolutely.
missed. That'd be
Absolutely.
great. No questions.
Motion?
Motion to issue a permit for the 4th annual Escape the Cape Wicket Onset Triathlon, June 8th, 2013, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Rain date is June 9th.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 3-0-0. Thanks, Tim.
Very
We're
good.
looking
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you again. Should be a lot of fun.
Very good.
All right. Next. Mr. Campina? Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Is this
Mr.
like
Chairman.
is this like a rehearsal for your show on Thursday?
No, Thursday is, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thursdays will be interesting. We're going to talk about contract 2 and what they can expect as far as connecting it. So I've been getting a lot of calls. Folks have been calling about how they're going to do it, so it'll be a great opportunity to explain the procedure and how we go about it. So I'm looking forward to it, to
Yeah, if
clear
I-
some confusion.
If I have a chance to break away, I may try to come by and have a cup of coffee on Thursday.
Look forward to it. Look forward to it.
All right. What do you got tonight, Mr.
Parkwood Beach. What I have, Mr. Chairman, I think it's just a formality of changing the betterment from map 38, lot 1007, and putting it into map 38, lot 1014. As you're probably aware, that in Parkwood, we put a lateral at the ballpark. They did not request one. We also put a lateral at their clubhouse. We bettered the lateral at the ballpark. We never bettered the lateral at the clubhouse. So we need to better the lateral at the clubhouse, and we need to take the betterment off the lateral at the ball field. They've assured us that they'll never use that. But I do want to caution them, if they ever do use it, there'll be no more betterment. It'll be a sewer development fee equal to the most recent betterment. So if they ever decide someday to split it up, sell it, whatever, and utilize it, they'll just be responsible for sewer development charge. So what I have here is, I don't know if you have in your package the actual Commonwealth of Mass Amendment to Order of Assessment of Betterments drawn up by Mr. Deshay, to be signed by the board so he can take it and record it. And then he also gave me a sample motion, if you would like. And I don't know, do you have a copy of this?
I'm looking for it right now. Alan, you have a copy?
I'm all set. I could read that.
I don't know if this goes, but this is the motion. It just covers what we're doing. Just using a sample example of how we're.
Okay.
So either way, the bottom line is we're going to collect one betterment now
Correct.
on either property, and if the other properties ever develop, we'll grab it then on
Correct.
the sewer development fee.
Correct.
So
It'll
we're
be a
not
sewer-
giving anybody a free.
No, there's no freebie, nothing at all. It's just bettering properly as it should have been done in the first place. Just correcting an error.
Any questions from the board?
Just one quick question, Guy. The lateral that was put to the ball field, normally all that stuff is prearranged and discussed. I'm a little confused as to why we put one there in the first place.
You're probably no more confused than I am. I've asked many questions, and no one seems to know why it was put there. It was an oversight. First, I thought it was put there for the trailer that CDM used, or actually, CDM used with GeoSeo to construct, and they assured me it was not. So somehow, some way, and I don't know how, the ladder was put there. Parkwood Association, I talked to those folks, they never requested it. And the thing is, that's a piece of recreational land, even though it's not deeded or that way, I believe, but it's a recreational piece of land. So, and they have many other lots throughout that development that we didn't better either. So just because we put a lateral there, they don't want to use it because it's a recreation. It's a tennis court. The lateral's actually at the tennis court. And then, of course, is the ballpark. So they're not planning on building it, developing it, or anything like that.
Just one quick question. You came up with a comment. Just struck me strange. Do they have other buildable lots?
Well, that's a good question, and the little investigation I did, I don't find them to be deeded for recreation, but they do have a bunch of lots. Their goal intent, as I found, was to leave open lots for people to play on or whatever they wanted to for the entire association. Can they be buildable? That would be a question for the building department, but personally, I don't see why not. If they ever chose to do that, they could probably, if times get tough, sell a lot off, whatever, but that would be their decision. But the bottom line, Selectman Slavin, if they chose to do that, then they would have to properly pay and do the proper procedures as everybody else. So at that time, they'll pay. They'll pay the price. And the only downside is it won't be the $15,000 betterment that's assessed today. It'll be the sewer development fee.
Okay, I understand. I just know whether any of those lots were considered buildable in the first place, and therefore we're running into these issues as you get along later in the discussion about buildable, not buildable, and I'm kind of surprised what's going on there.
I agree with you, and I don't know the labor entailed for the department, the building department, to go out there and actually look at these lots and just determine what's buildable or not buildable. I certainly didn't want to take a guess on that task. But you're right, we seem to run into these problems consistently, what's buildable, what's not buildable, and we need to set up a format that we can make these determinations concretely, previously to these developments, that we do these sewer developments that we do.
Hopefully the sewer commissioners, whether they're the rest or the next group, will actually look at that as a policy and get that straightened out. Thank you.
I agree with you 100%. And sewer commissioners are no insult to the board. You know, there's only so many hats you guys can have, and you can't put 100% into everything, so it doesn't make sense.
Okay, anything else? Get a motion,
Okay.
please?
Town of Wareham Board of Sewer Commissioners, to see if the Board of Selectmen, acting in their capacity as Board of Sewer Commissioners of the Town of Wareham, acting pursuant to the authority granted them under General Laws, Chapters 80 and 83, will vote to amend the betterment assessment made in connection with the Wareham Sewer Contract Number 1, recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 39475, page 11, the betterment, to correct a clerical error therein by 1, deleting the reference to map 38, lot 1007, Parkwood Beach Improvement Association, $15,010 on page 36 of Exhibit A, to the betterment, and this is number 2, substituting in its place map 38, lot 1014, Parkwood Beach Improvement Association, $15,010, and to certify the betterment assessment to said lot 1014 on map 38 to the town assessor for collection by the collector of taxes of the town of Wareham, and further that each of the commissioners may individually execute any document necessary to effect the purpose of this action without further meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300. Okay. Did we find a pot of gold this week? Oh, this is for me. Sorry. I thought you handed me a document and said you found the pot of gold.
Wrong religion.
Do we have any updates on any other funding sources that we need to know about from since Tuesday?
The main update that I would have is I've asked Mr. Foster to speak to the Mass Water Pollution Abatement Trust to see if we can pay down the principal on what we've borrowed, if there's any penalties on there and such. So he's reached out to the treasurer. We will get a response from them, and just sort of dotting our I's and crossing our T's. I brought this together for the board just so you can have these packets. It explains the use of retained earnings from the enterprise fund, and it also gives a detail from the basic financials of the audit of the water pollution, because the question was asked, what makes up the retained earnings
And how it can be used.
and how it can be used? And those are sort of the explanations there. The real question as to what makes it up, and I didn't bring one for Rich. Actually, you can
Yeah,
have
but
my
I've got
copy
an
of
extra
it.
one. I have my own from before.
Did you just send this to Mrs. Winslow?
I can make scanned copies and send them out to her as well. If you look at there, it'll give you the updated what you can use retained earnings for, and I believe the other question was what you can use it for. And was there another one, Alan? I'm sorry.
No, excuse me, I believe the question was originally that we had a meeting, I think, with John Foster, probably as much as 6 to 8 months ago, and at that time, the information was that whether we paid now or paid later, there was no advantage to paying off because the bond was for 20 years, and if you prepaid, you didn't get any interest back, or you still had to pay the full 20 years of the total dollar amount. So if you paid, say, a couple of years in advance, you still paid the interest as well. So I wasn't sure whether we could actually go ahead and prepay and have an advantage that way.
That's one of the items we wanted to look up. As to what's in the retained earnings, the simple way to look at is at the end of the year, whatever's left over, if your revenues are greater than your expenditures, that is moved over into the retained earnings. If your revenues are less than your expenditures, you have a deficit and you can vote out of the retained earnings and such. So to give you an itemized detail of that is, I would not be able to. We don't have the ability to do that.
Okay. Very good. And you're going to send a copy of that to Mrs. Winslow?
Yes.
Or have you already? Okay. Mr. Campina?
Yes, the next item is a release of a notice of decision intention to better for the board. Just want to share the lots. This is preservation, right?
Could I have a copy from Mrs. Winslow, please?
Map 54, lot 21 is actually on Preservation Way. It's the second house in on the right. If you look at find Cremisa Road, then you'll see Preservation Way. You turn right into Preservation Way, the second house, it's actually a house on the right, is map 54, lot 21, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Riley. They're selling the house, and there's a lien on it for intent to better. Zero money, but intent to better. They're not part of the betterment. So we'd like to take off the intent. So this release is just remove the intent to better, so they have a clear title so they can sell the property.
How does that work again?
Well, when we do a project,
They're
it has
bettered.
no, they're not bettered. They are not bettered, but they received an intent to
stub
better. No stub at all.
Why?
Ooh, that's a good question. We'll probably talk about that later when we talk about the letter that's later on the agenda, because Preservation Way, the controversy in Agawam Drive, and of course Twin Beach Lane, they were decided not to be bettered for whatever reason. At the time, Preservation Lane is a private road. So we put a lateral or stub at the end of that road for future. So they weren't required to come to that stub, because you'd have to go to the second lot, third lot, fourth lot, and part of that isn't developed yet. So the decision was made long before I and yourself that it would not be bettered. There would not be a lateral to each individual home in Preservation Way. So
there's nobody on Preservation Way
no.
has anything running by their house. We
No.
only go to the end of the street.
Nobody on Preservation Way. We did grab the corner lots because they front Cremisa Road. So technically we said those were Cremisa Road, so we grabbed the first house. When you turn in the first lot that's undeveloped, we grabbed that one. We grabbed the one where the drainage area is, and we grabbed the one with the pump station. But anything in Preservation Lane proper, going down the lane to the cul-de-sac, we didn't grab any of those properties.
Go ahead, Peter, you go first. Sorry.
Yeah, this, I guess, again goes back to Selectman Slavin's earlier point of a policy when we vote to better an area. I think the Board of Sewer Commission is going to have to get a lot more involved in the actual layout of the sewer. That's all I'm going to say about that. But in any event, what we're looking here to do basically tonight is you're just asking us to sign off on this to clear their title.
Yes, Mr. Selectman, that's simply for the gentleman to close. They're closing next month. So they just need a clear title to close the
How do they
property.
get a lien on the property if they don't have a...
It's a $0 intent to
I know,
better.
but who put it on?
The town puts it on. They put it on. If you went into Agawam Beach, contract 3, you would see on those properties intent to better. That's what you would see.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, it was explained to me, it's to let people know that we're coming to purchase, that on that deed that there is an intent to better, so there'd be no surprises. That's what was explained to me. Now, that's to my little knowledge.
This is a non-accepted town road. They received no town services.
Not true.
No, I'm sure water's
What are you
there
smiling
somewhere, but
It's not true.
I'm asking the question.
no, they have water. They have public water. They have utilities. They have lights.
Right, I
and they
understand
have
that.
road
Town.
curbs. Yes, they
Town.
have that. But as if the road was accepted by the town, I can't say. I don't have the knowledge that the town was physically accepted the road as town road. I'm assuming, and this is dangerous, that it is not, because if it was, then we would have bettered it.
Right.
Because it would have been town property.
Well, that's what I'm
But
trying
that's
to...
what my thoughts are, is that it was not town property. It was a private road to a private development. So therefore, we wouldn't have the authority to go in there and better it. That's how it was explained to me.
No.
Yeah, that's beyond me.
I'll do this
Yeah, I
very
don't-
quickly.
I don't
'cause
think-
what we're discussing is two different things, what I'm gonna say. We have a subdivision here where it looks to me like about 5 lots or 6 lots here. The subdivision, the Preservation Lane is the road of the subdivision,
Correct.
which normally gets turned over to the town once the subdivision road is brought up to proper grade, except a sign off by the town engineer, which is, in the whole process, then it becomes a town road. I'm sure if this road is paved, I guarantee you we have a plow going up and down it. I could be wrong,
Yeah,
but I won't.
I don't know.
I'm just comment, but the idea of it doesn't make sense to me that if we had walked all these areas that we would not have picked up on this, because you have a stub coming here to the for a future hookup anyways. You've probably put a lateral in somewhere.
I think it'll clarify itself a little greater when we get into the next issue on the agenda.
I know about that one.
Because that was the letter that explained this as far as the owners were concerned, that excluded them from this betterment process, and that goes greater than you and I. But I also, to your early comment, Mr. Selectman, I would like to say that I am sure we have plows going up many roads that aren't owned by the town.
This
Well,
is
we're
one
not
of
here to
many.
discuss plows.
So
We'll
that-
take care of
that's-
this one
All
now,
right.
but
Yes.
thank you.
Let's move this along.
I'll make a motion that we release, as the sewer commissioners, holders of a notice of decision of intention to make an assessment for the cost of laying sewer lines in the town of Wareham, the notice against the land herein described herein, release and discharge said land from the notice, as said property did not receive the benefit of installation of a sewer line, therefore proposed to. It's map 54, lot 21, owner Joseph B. and Diane M. Riley. Certificate of title is number 109780, lot 21 on Land Court Plan 120021, filed with certificate number 4024.
Second.
Motion made and second. Anything on the question? You good with this? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 300.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Wareham Water Department.
Right.
Mr. Bowen has done exemplary work in presenting our case to no avail. So I think that the board needs to sit down with, at one point in time, whether it's executive or here, because it may need to go to the next level. And I don't think there's anything I can add to that, but that's where we are with this. So the work has been done. The contracts have been paid.
Yeah.
Paid out of the enterprise fund.
Yeah.
There was agreements made, signed off by the Board of Selectmen and the commissioners for the water department.
I
That
recall.
once the work's completed, that
Yes,
would
sir.
be paid. It hasn't happened, so I think that we need to do what's ever best in the best interest of the town of Wareham to get this money.
Comment, Mr. Bowen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've very faithfully tried to pursue the collection of this money. And we're arriving at a fork in the road as to how we're going to do this. I will make a suggestion to the board. It may well be worth having a sit-down with the executive leadership of the district so that we can make a decision as to which fork we're going to take. One will be better than the other. But I think until that decision, until that meeting takes place, this isn't going to go anywhere. Thank you.
Okay. Next steps, Mr. Sullivan, you want to meet with the district leader and see what you can do, and then if we need to have an executive to make a decision,
I'll arrange. a
we're
meeting.
certainly happy to do that. The issue is, as Mr. Campino well stated, this was discussed, agreed upon, we did the work, there was a promise to pay, they have not paid. This, in a fiscal time that we're in, we can't afford throwing around $200,000. We just don't have that money to throw around, right? We all agree on that.
Absolutely.
And so, when we're sitting here and we see the free cash numbers come in from the state for that district, they need to pay the bill. That's why we agreed to do the work in the first place, because we anticipated getting paid. Nobody else was sitting here but me, I remember that, but Mrs. Winslow was here too. And we anticipated we were going to get paid, not stiffed. And that's town money, and people pay that money, and we should get paid back that money because we certainly could use it. Right? And Mr. Bowen has tried to get the money, because I've seen I've seen the emails, and whatever it takes, we're going to get that money back. That's town money. And they have the money. It's not that they don't have the money to pay. They have the money. They just refuse to pay it. Okay. Oh, this ought to be fun. Here we go again. Go ahead. Give us this one. Well, you're on a roll tonight. You're just
Yes,
you're
I
just
am.
giving away money down there tonight, aren't you?
We're giving away tons of money. Well, I had a letter addressed to me from Mr. Ken Levitt in regards to Agawam Road. Agawam Road is I'm calling it a nothing more than a driveway. It's a road that comes off of Cremisa in front of the houses back to Cremisa, and their lots front Cremisa all the way back. And there's 5 lots. And this letter that's in your possession said to them that they don't have to better. We bettered them. They have laterals, and as far as I'm concerned, they're bettered, and it's a dead issue. Mr. Levitt feels otherwise, and he submitted some paperwork to myself that I forwarded to the board. And if you look at the property with mailing address 157 Cremisa Road, owners Ken and Judith Gould and Ken Levitt, he explained in detail why he feels he should not have to connect. So I told him that it's out of my purview. I don't have the authority, so I would bring it to the board, and I would allow it to come in front of the board and let the board decide on how we want to handle it. There's 2 issues. One, the letter, is it valid? I don't know if Mr. Simmons had the authority to speak for the board, who is in charge of betterments. I don't know. I tried to look into the minutes. I could find no authorization from the board. So I don't know if this letter is valid, and that's why I'm asking the board's help to determine if the validity of this letter and then our course of action.
5 times 18 is
It's a little bit of money. It's
$90,000.
absolutely added to the 954 we're already doing, and then the 18 at 23, and we have another one. So it could get kind of,
It's getting expensive.
it could be very expensive.
Questions? Comments from the board?
I don't know that we can, at this point, get into this too much publicly. And I'll leave it at that.
I went through I could find all the different policies, rules, regulations for the sewer commissioners. I can find where it states that we're the only ones that can basically sit there and what I call a rebate, basically delete a betterment, et cetera. I couldn't find anywhere where the actual betterment, who goes around, how it's set exactly in stone. This particular piece of property that we're talking about, so the public can see, this Cremisa Road, what I would call a half circle, if you want to call it row, is put right behind it.
Correct.
I don't have the information to be sure, but I would almost think, through my experience in the planning board, that they put this road in this way to get a proper frontage for each one of the lots. Because if not, they probably would have been on Cremisa Road directly. Because by putting a half circle like this, you increase the frontage of each one of the lots this way. The bottom line is, this was obviously, should have been intended to be sewered. Why the Water Pollution Control Facility had a letter come out saying they didn't have to be sewered is beyond me, but I'm not going to make that decision at this point, obviously. But this is just another reason why we need to tighten up what we do, because this is a lot of money that we don't have, that was not counted in there. That you plan to receive that at the cap of 18,000 times 5. Now we don't have it.
I agree. Mr. Levitt explained to me that the road was put in for the addition of utilities. It was not put to gain any frontage. Frontage is on Cremisa. So, and I don't have verification of his story or what the town's position is.
Yeah,
But he believes it's simply he explained to me, they put it there simply to bring service. Instead of coming off Cremisa Road for each lot, they ran it parallel. That was the explanation for me. So he wasn't using that as an excuse not to better. He just felt this letter is what he's standing on.
I understand. We all can read what it is. It's just, if you look at it and coming through there, you would just go right down the line and you'd run your sewer right up through each one as a lateral.
Absolutely.
So I just
Was there a lateral placed in front of every one of those properties?
I'm sorry?
A lateral was placed.
A
correct?
lateral is placed in front of each property on Cremisa Road. As
Right.
the lots come to Cremisa Road, they're long lots. Each lot has a lateral.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rich, we have to move this to executive Tuesday.
Yes,
Will
sir.
that work for you?
Yeah,
Next Tuesday?
I'll be here.
Is it appropriate to have Mr. Campina there, or is he not allowed? He can. Can you do that next Tuesday?
Yes, 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Bagels, cream cheese.
Or if you wanna do it like 20 to 7, that way you don't have to come in because you can't stay for the whole meeting. So why don't we
Whatever's-
do it? Why don't we do it at the end? Is that
Okay.
right? Is that okay?
I'll just get here early and you call me in when you're ready.
Yeah.
I'll get here, okay,
But we'll do it at the end
okay.
so that you don't have to come, go, and come back.
Okay.
Any other sewer business?
I believe that's it. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if Ms. Rowley would not mind, we have a presentation for the affordable housing, not affordable housing, Affordable Housing Trust, and we have a person here from Boston. Has to
Oh.
present and has to go back to
She
Boston.
didn't say she was from Boston.
Not Joanna, this is Karen. So if it would be okay to take them out of order, be all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Thank you.
Why didn't you say you were from Boston? We could have done this at 7 o'clock. I mean, see, they didn't tell me that either.
No.
They didn't tell us your name, and they didn't tell us where you were from. We normally show that courtesy to people from out of town.
I know that.
Good evening. Sandy Slavin, Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. As the Affordable, introduce yourself, please.
Steve Suey, Affordable Housing Trust.
Hey, Steve, how you been? We haven't seen you here in a while.
Karen Sonneborg, consultant.
Welcome.
Thank you. As she sets up the system, as the Affordable Housing Trust, we are, by bylaws, responsible for preserving and creating affordable housing in the town of Wareham. And as we started to work on it, we realized we really didn't know what Wareham had, nor what Wareham needs. And at that time, we noticed that the housing production plan was outdated. So we asked that, using our administrative funds, we hired Karen Sonneborg to produce the housing production plan, which has been brought before you for your approval. It has been presented to the planning board. They will be taking a vote on its acceptance shortly. It has been commented on by the planning board. It has been commented and reviewed by Cell from the CETA board, from CETA. So we're here tonight to do a 10-minute presentation and ask for the approval of the Board of Selectmen, so we then can submit it to the state for acceptance. I know it's a 97-page document. It is available on the website under the Affordable Housing Trust link. You all, Selectmen, received it several weeks ago, and I know it is a read, but it's extremely interesting and informative as to what the town has in the way of people, housing. Not up? As to what Wareham is, who we are, what we have. It's using the 2010 census, so it's been updated with the latest information. So is it on? Okay, we'll need to shut a light off, please. Thank you. So I will turn the presentation over to Karen. I've asked her for 10 minutes. As she's putting that up, in it you'll find some recommendations, and they are that, recommendations, guidelines as to what Wareham can do to move forward on obtaining more affordable housing. No rules, no, you got to do it this way, but here are your guidelines and your recommendations as she presents you some strategies.
I am going to try to whiz through this, and so that you have time for, so you have time for questions. Let me just mention that we're doing this plan under state regulations that are called housing production. They're actually a subset of the Chapter 40B comprehensive permit regulations, and they're meant to provide greater local control to communities, such that if the community prepares and adopts a housing plan that meets all the state's prescribed requirements and then produces 0.5% of its year-round housing stock, which is the equivalent of 49 units in Wareham, it then has the recourse to deny comprehensive permit applications that are deemed inappropriate or unwanted without the developer's ability to appeal, which is the key piece. We just state that at this point the town is at an affordability level of 7.7% of its year-round housing stock, affordable per the definition that the state has under its subsidized housing inventory. Just briefly, we identified, based on documentation from a whole range of sources, including the 2010 census, as well as Census Bureau's estimates for 2011, priority needs that include trying to diversify the housing stock and increase affordability. Fundamentally, first priority being looking at households with limited incomes, who need rentals. There are significant numbers of lower paying jobs and individuals and families with lower incomes in Wareham that either need subsidized housing or they're paying far too much for their existing housing. Identified gaps in affordability and access to housing, both rentals and first-time home ownership needed. Housing conditions issues, given that 62% of the units in Wareham were built before 1980. And then target populations. Elderly are becoming an increasing population in town. Physically and mentally disabled. There are very few handicapped accessible units, as well as units with supportive services. Female-headed households are the most vulnerable population in town, and then the homeless are those at risk of homelessness. Service providers are indicating that across the range they're getting a lot more inquiries and requests for services and assistance. I'm going to pass on the housing goals. Just wanted to go through a couple some key findings related to kind of demographic and economic profile of the town. Wareham had a higher level growth that is now starting to decline. The greatest growth spurt happened between 1970 and 80, where there were 7,000 residents came to town during that period, with a growth rate of 61%. Now that growth between 2000 and 2010 has slowed down to 7.3%, with a population of almost 22,000. But that's still much higher than the county and the state, with growth rates 4.7% for the county and 3.1% for the state. Significant growth in middle-aged residents and declines in numbers of children. Still, the median age is higher in Wareham at 45.6 years than it is for the county at 41 years and the state at 39. A growing minority population increased from 12.6% in 2000 to 13.5% by 2010, but those levels are still lower than the county and the state levels. Lower income levels. The median income in Wareham was $55,136 compared to $73,000 some odd change for the county and about $64,000 for the state. Also, there is a higher level of those earning below $25,000 in Wareham than the county and the state. In fact, 22% of all households were earning within that level. And then growing number of smaller households and people living alone. I'll give you an example. The number of households increased by 23% 0.1% between 1990 and 2010. The number of residents, the population, increased during that same period by only 7.3%. Increasing numbers of non-family, non-traditional households. And then I just wanted to go through some housing trends too. Comparably high but declining rate of housing growth. Between 2000 and 2010, number of housing units increased by 15%, and that's twice the population growth. And that is higher than the county and state growth rates too, 10% for the county and 7% for the state. Recent proportional decrease in rental units. In 2000, the percentage of rental units was about 19%. It went down in 2000, and then it went to, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. Between 1990 and 2010, rental units decreased from 25% to 25% to 23% of all occupied units. This is despite an overall increase in housing units of 7.7%. Only 240 units were produced. High level of seasonal units and second homes. In 2000, about 18.9% of all units were seasonal units or second homes, increased to 19.4%. By 2010, net gain of 356 such units, much higher than the 5.1% for the county and 4% for the state. Single-family units are predominant, much higher than the state and the county. Older housing stock, as mentioned before, a relatively affordable housing stock that is still out of reach for many residents. As the end of 2012, the median single-family house price was $170,000 compared to $266,500 for the county and $290,000 for the state. The height of the market in Wareham was in 2005, just as a point of reference, where the median single-family house price was $270,000. Plus, you've got all the upfront costs. Now, we're not talking about down payments of 5 to 3% anymore. We're talking about 20% down payments and more stringent underwriting criteria. Rents are expensive too. The median rents now are around $1,000, including upfront costs as well. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. And what is kind of a stunning statistic is that despite these relatively lower costs, still 24% of households in Wareham are spending more than half their income on housing. In fact, 43% of all households, including 44% of all owners and 39% of all renters, were paying too much for their housing, meaning a common definition is if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, you're spending too much. We came up with a comprehensive package of strategies. This is a 5-year plan. We didn't want to get overly ambitious. I didn't want to just do a laundry list of anything that we could think of that might work for the town and put it in various categories. On building local capacity, we recommended that the town secure sufficient professional support for the Housing Trust as well as for the Planning Board, moving the part-time planning director position to a full-time one, and providing some staffing for the Housing Trust towards the implementation of this plan, as well as just oversight for the subsidized housing inventory, making sure that all units that should be counted are counted, that units that are in the process of being developed meet all the appropriate criteria, for example. Also conducting ongoing community education on the issue, any initiative related to affordable housing as it comes before the town. Capitalizing the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust. A number of towns are taking automatically 10% of the CPA funds going directly to the Housing Trust, with the Housing Trust being able to then apply for additional funds for special projects above that. inventory of town-owned property. We know that some of this has been done in the past, but it's a matter of sharpening some pencils and looking at current opportunities, including, from I gather, about 800 properties are in tax foreclosure. Preparing local 40B procedures in order to guide 40B development, and conducting a mobile home study. And then we've also recommended some zoning strategies. At this point, there are no incentives for including affordable housing in the zoning bylaw. One is to promote affordable housing mixed-use development. It's now allowed in the general commercial and planned commercial district, but not in the villages or the commercial corridors. And this is part of the town's overall economic development strategy. Promote accessory apartments, which are now limited general commercial zoning district. In the plan, we make a case that these units provide a number of benefits to the community as well as to the existing owners' potential occupants. And then to allow the subdivision of merged lots. There was rezoning years ago that required the merger of smaller lots under common ownership with some unintended consequences, and as a way of promoting small infill development as well as some potential affordability, that be pursued, probably needing some town council guidance to allow some of these merged lots to be subdivided. And then under housing development strategies is to make suitable public property available for affordable housing. A number of parcels are mentioned in the plan, including the tax title properties. CETA has some good ideas about how to take some of these tax title properties and turn them into long-term affordability that are specified in the plan. And then to partner with developers on private sites through zoning changes, through the friendly 40B process, through infill development, and through establishing a formal process for reviewing and guiding affordable housing. This is probably where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck as far as actual units. Housing preservation strategies continue to fund the housing rehab program that's been in operation for 20 years and has been a terrific resource for the community. And then to work with the Wareham Housing Authority, providing whatever support in their advocacy for getting funding to modernize their units. And we have a couple of direct assistance strategies. One is because of the issue of these the numbers of lower income households and how much people are overpaying, including about 500 renters who are earning at or below 50% of area median income. We suggest a rental assistance program. There's a program operating in Chatham that provides first and last month's potential help as well as security deposit that kind of is on a revolving basis to assist renters in accessing affordable rental units. And to consider developing an above-the-shop program. This is in accord with promoting mixed use development as part of the plan as well. Did I do it in 10 minutes?
I think you came awful close.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Karen, please?
Mr. Titlebaum?
I've seen this going through the first draft, second draft, third draft, probably through the 18th draft, so I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to go through it again.
Well, I was going to say, if you have questions on it, we're in trouble because you're actually on this, you sit on this board. Mr. Slavin.
I think
And you better watch what you ask because you'll get it when you get home.
it might be worth it. One thing I noticed that I'm not sure people pick up real quickly on is that what is considered an affordable rental unit today in Wareham is just a hair under $1,000, which is virtually what the Boston affordable rate is that people have always been complaining about. And especially when you make note of what the people's actual income in looking
Yeah.
for those rental units, that's an unsustainable system there. We can't, obviously, we're losing people to the town of Wareham because they can't afford to stay here.
Yeah.
And especially our older citizens. And I went through quite a bit of it. It's a really excellent presentation, but it really lays out a lot of disturbing trends that we're looking at. And I hope that this report gets out to the Cedar office and different offices in town so they can look and pick up some of the ideas here. I appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the report, you recommend, even in tonight's presentation, renting control officers, and it sounds like there's money that would be spent in those recommendations. Where do you propose that money come from?
Mostly CPA. The community
To hire
preservation.
these people and to run these agencies that you're talking about in this?
Well, certainly the recommendation about professional support, CPA, that is an eligible activity under CPA if it's directed towards, housing, historic preservation, or open space preservation.
Does that include the rental support team?
The rental, you wouldn't need a team. A rental assistance program, if you hired some professional support, say a part-time person to staff the housing trust, that person could also administer a small program providing some rental assistance.
And is that covered under CPA funds as
Yep,
well?
that's eligible.
To hire someone to staff the affordable housing
Yes.
trust fund group?
There are lots of communities that are doing that.
And there's always some contention that you mentioned the housing authority in your presentation, and it's a state agency.
Right.
And although the town has tried to continue to support that group, I don't know if you've seen our budget numbers on the town and the school side, but they're very difficult for us to continue to expend that kind of money for a state agency.
I think I was talking more about advocacy when they go after funding for the municipality, to be supportive of that, not necessarily to provide the funding itself.
Okay, because we have done some cedar work there over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're trying to run a town and you're pouring money into, and I realize it's our residents, it's our citizens, right, who live there, but it's a state agency, and the town is using money through some of our sources. I think the plan is good. I do get concerns when I see things in there about private developers and things like that. That stuff concerns me because some developers in this market are not people that the town would want to do business with.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to controlling that, there's some in town now that are trying to get some of these programs going that we really shouldn't be doing, but their track record is horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to be clear that by supporting this plan, we're not carte blanching supporting all of these people that are in town now trying to get money from the town.
No, and I think there's this understanding about this being a comprehensive package, that you're not basically saying that you're in favor of every strategy that's in there,
Right.
but as a package. And each one will still have to go through its normal regulatory approvals. Also, when it comes to, under private developers, we're talking about doing the friendly 40B. So you're working with a developer that already is working towards meeting the local needs that you have identified. And then with the housing guidelines that we also kind of suggested in the plan, that they're willing to heed the kind of direction that the
Right.
town has stipulated.
Yeah, because we have some developers who won't accept a friendly 40B. They go out of their way
Mm-hmm.
with the zoning board and keep information away from them so that they don't approve them. Then they go to the Mass State, the housing court, and then they get what they want there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have those people around town now, and so I'm just making sure that if I vote to support your plan, I like what I'm seeing, but I want to make sure I'm not supporting those programs because it's not good for the citizens of Wareham.
As mentioned, the strategies are guidelines. some of them you can agree to and some you don't. They're just used as a roadmap to help us reach our goal of affordable housing. They do not all have to be delivered. They're just strategies.
I think the idea is that the town needs to prioritize the strategies and implement them, and show the state a really good faith effort that it's trying to promote affordable housing based on the identified needs that have been documented.
And my last question is, you had up on one of your slides a review of mobile parks. And I guess my question to you as the consultant is, have you seen areas where these mobile home parks are counted in our 40B inventory? Or in a town's 40B? We don't have it, but have you seen in other areas where you work? I assume you've consulted for other areas. Have you seen those issues being counted, those units as being counted?
One project I've seen counted in Peabody, and it happened a number of years ago. Might have been like the 80s, but it was a substantial project of multiple sources of funding. It was a fairly big subsidized housing development. That's the only one that I've seen. I think the mobile home study, and there was one done in the past, and I think there's an intern potentially being considered to just update some information, recognizing that mobile homes are, while they're not counted as of yet in the subsidized housing inventory, there's still an important segment of the little a affordable units in town that are vulnerable and need to be preserved if you can.
Okay. Anything else? Any other commentary? Steve, you haven't said a word.
Nope. I'm good.
I like it short and sweet, brother. Okay. What do we need? We're waiting. You? Are you doing it? Or is Alan?
Make a motion to accept the Town of Wareham to Massachusetts Housing Production Plan produced by the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust.
Mike's on.
Sorry, try it again. Town of Wareham Affordable Housing Production Plan. I move to accept the report as provided by the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust.
Second.
Motion made and second. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 300. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank
for
you very
coming.
much. Thank you.
And next time, just let us know that you're coming, and we'll make sure you're on the agenda very early. We'll move you up. Now she has to drive all the way back to Boston
And
at
I
8:30 at night.
Thank the Historical
Thank you.
Commission for
Yes.
giving us the floor first. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Whoa. Okay, next up we have the Historical Commission to talk about the Tremont Nail Factory. And could I have a copy for Mrs. Winslow? These are done?
Yep.
Good evening. Just bear with me for a minute.
You have to talk. You have to get real close to that thing. You have a soft voice to begin with, so.
I'll try to be very loud this
Okay.
evening. Does that sound
Oh,
good?
they'll let you
they'll-
know if they can't
Great.
hear you.
Thank you. I know. This never happens. Come on. Yeah. Sorry.
What is that, an IBM?
No, it never acts like this, ever. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Johanna Rowley. Can you see this okay, or should we turn off the lights?
Yeah, no, we can see it, okay? Can everybody
Great.
see? Can you guys see over there? Yeah?
Great.
Can you see, Bob? Okay.
Fabulous.
That means the people at home can see. Well, Martha, you need to move a little closer to the front.
Do you guys want to go first? Okay, great. Okay, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Johanna Rowley, and I am working with the Wareham Historic Commission in regards to Tremont Nail Factory District. And this evening, what I would like to do is just give you an update on what we've been working on, and then I have a list of items that I would like to ask approval to keep moving forward on from the board. So briefly, I don't think most of you know who I am. I have a design business here in town. I actually grew up here. My family has lived here for quite some time. My background is I'm adjunct faculty at the Boston Architectural College in their preservation department as well as their practice department. And my education is in historic preservation, architecture, and interior design. And currently, I meet the minimum Secretary of Interior standards as an architectural historian. So this really all started, I will briefly go over this as more of an interview with FEMA in 2011 after the tornadoes hit in Springfield. And I decided, because the process was rather warbly and just it didn't work very well, that I wanted to learn more about the disaster recovery process. And I received a grant from the college to look at disaster planning, response and recovery, and assessing historic properties. And I actually started talking with the Historic Commission here in town because I wanted to see what the town of Wareham had for their historic properties for any disaster recovery plans. And in our discussions, we determined that Tremont Nail, because it was a town-owned property, that this would be a great case study for myself. And as we further discussed the property, we realized, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here because the property isn't being used. Right now it's boarded up, and it hasn't been used for quite some time. So what I did was, because I have the unique opportunity of working at a college, I really started thinking about how can I help the town that I work with try and figure out what I can do. So why are we here tonight? Well, what we're trying to figure out is how we can find a new use for the Tremont Nail Factory District property in hopes of providing a new revenue stream to the town of Wareham. That really is the main objective. You are receiving, I think, very little revenue from that property. I think one of the buildings is leased, but everything else is empty. So that's the main focus. But there are a lot of different ways to get to that objective. And what my work has been about for the last 8 months is actually research and documenting the property so that we can provide you with as much information as possible so that the board, the town, can come to a determination of what to do with the site. Now, before we can actually do that, we have some questions that, frankly, haven't been answered for a while. Tremont Nail is a small piece to a much larger puzzle. You know, where does Wareham want to be in 10, 25, 50 years? Frankly, the master plan was done last one was done in 1998, and that's about 15 years ago. And looking at that strategic plan, I consider it more of a historic document right now, rather than something that we can actually use. A lot of things have changed in 15 years. So what infrastructure is missing or requires improvements or changes in Wareham? And we just heard a great proposal for residential, for affordable housing, but that's one small piece. You know, what are the thoughts about commercial or industrial education, transportation, cultural, tourism or recreation, conservation is another one. How does Tremont fit in to the infrastructure in town? How do we go about determining these missing pieces? And, you know, we can come up with a lot of great strategies for Tremont, but if we don't really understand the big picture in town, we might miss the boat on something. So I think we need to really start thinking about long-term plans of what we want to be. So one of the things that I've been doing, one of the goals to reach that objective, is we are researching, documenting the property. And the reason why we want to do this is we want to have it for precedence for future design concepts. We want to do it for preservation and conservation work, disaster planning, response and recovery work, education, marketing, and funding. Now, a feasibility study was done in 2009, and it did provide a lot of great information, but there are still missing pieces. And that is what we are trying to complete right now. Now, one of the strategies to meet that goal is to build a team that can research and document any remaining missing pieces. And the other one is using, obviously, reputable research resources. And that is where I come in. I have found students and faculty and staff at the Boston Architectural College who are very interested in Tremont Nail for various reasons. And I have 2 of my students here this evening to help support me, which I really appreciate. Go ahead, stand up.
I'm Gregory Lent. I'm working with architectural theory and historic preservation. I'm Joseph Reese. I'm working on a gateway project for historical preservation.
Now our new semester just started, so we're just getting kind of in the throes of things. So we've talked about the goal. We talked about several simple strategies, and then finally some measurements on how we can figure out, oh, this didn't work at all. Never mind. To look at how we can get to those pieces. And one of the things we're doing this semester is we've got a Gateway project. And Gateway is actually a practice initiative where students sign up for real projects and they get work experience. In the case of, for instance, if you're going for your Masters of Architecture, you gain actual hours going towards your licensure. The other thing that we're doing is we're having a design studio this semester that is looking at specific elements of Tremont that it's an interdisciplinary team of programs. So we have preservation, we've got construction technology, we have theory, and in the future we're hoping to also have sustainable design on the team as well. And we're also hoping to move forward with architecture and interiors and landscape architecture in on it at some point. Those are the people involved. Now, the things that we're working on are inventory forms. And that is one of the missing pieces that has not been completed. The Boston SHPO office does not have a complete set. And there's been a lot of historical data gathered, but there has not been, the form has not been completed as far as the architectural assessment of each building. So we're working on that right now. And we are also really wanting to put forth a nomination packet for the National Trust of Historic Preservation for their 2013 11 Most Endangered Sites list. And the reason why we're interested in that is we really would like to get some national recognition where we might be able to find some philanthropists or people in industrial preservation who would be interested in supporting this site. We're also interested potentially in doing some HABs, hair and house drawings, and if you don't know what those are, that's a historic American building survey, and these types of drawings were actually implemented in the 1930s when we were going through a major depression, and architects and designers who were out of work were, by the federal government, sent to historic properties to document the buildings. And so we think this would be a great project to have that done, but again, we're looking at some funding down the road. We're also looking at developing a conservation maintenance plan and 3D modeling of the property, and even looking at some large format photography, and also looking at what I would call architectural technology, where someone comes in from a company who focuses on preservation technology and shows the students how you use it, and at the same time we get a little work completed. So thermography, infrared thermography, or borescope. I'm thinking specifically about the north wall of the main factory building that is the dam. I think it would be great to be able to assess that at least a little bit, and maybe even go for funding to have that documented. So those are the things that we are wanting to do. And as you can see, this is a graphic that we developed this past fall. It's a little bit difficult to read, but frankly, what we've accomplished so far is we spent most of last semester researching and documenting, going online, doing several site visits, exterior, just looking at the buildings, taking a lot of photography. We've also been to Harvard at the Baker Library because that's where the Tremont archives are located, and spending time there. And then Plymouth Registry of Deeds, because we actually took the time to look up all the deeds for the property owners of Tremont now. And believe me, that took a little time. My father was nice enough to help us with that, so it was helpful. So we've done a lot of research in the last several months, and we are going to continue to do that because we have not completed the inventory forms yet, or the National Trust's nomination packet, because the deadline isn't here yet. So what else have we done? Well, we have a Facebook page for Tremont Nail Factory District and Ironworks. And we're slowly growing a following, which is really great. And what we do is we take, you need to be a fan. Yeah, we need to be fans. We are, so if there's, like when the re-roofing happened this summer, lots of people on the project took photography. They shared the photos with me. I uploaded some of them that I thought were really interesting. When we've been down on the site, we've just put information about what's going on, because frankly the only way we're going to get support for this project in any endeavor is to get people to read about it. So what would we like to do? Well, we would like to complete the inventory forms. We would like to do the nomination packet, We would like to continue getting the diagramming, the drawings done for the buildings. And then also the energy efficiency modeling and conservation maintenance plan completed. So, and this is just another plan. Actually, Dave Bichette and I walked the property the beginning of the year. And I explained to him, the property, there are areas along the property around the buildings that we've got a lot of weeds, we have issues with drainage, we've got vegetation that's invasive, and it really would be great if we could come up with a maintenance plan to get a lot of that done. And I do have an idea for that. Oh, and by the way, good news for all of this. This is pro bono work, and I'm not asking for any money from the town. Can I? Yeah, there's no but. That's the positive of this whole plan. No, but there's no but. That's the positive. No, because I'm okay. Because I'm working with the school, and this is through classes. We are, this is not being added to the town's budget at all at this time. So, what I need from you this evening is I need to have permission to be able to take my students inside the buildings so that we can continue doing the inventory forms documentation. It's really difficult, every time I bring students down, I need to get permission, have Mac with me, and it just would be helpful if I provided a schedule. We have student waiver forms that have already been signed. It just would be helpful if we could work when we needed to work. Now, granted, it's very cold right now. We were down there today, and it was awful. But, as the warm weather comes, it would be nice to be able to be down there.
I didn't have this on. No issues with the committee.
Maybe we can get copies of the waivers.
No problem.
Thanks.
No problem. Now, also, I had...
Any issues with the board?
I think maybe we just get some kind of memo of understanding so everything's
Well,
clear.
that he just addressed
Town
that.
council, and town administrator normally handles that as well.
Right.
Okay, not a
That's all
problem.
we need.
Not a problem. And of course, I want to follow whatever procedures the town has as far as the fire department and police department is concerned. I've contacted
the
the
police
town.
issues you can deal with Mr. Sullivan.
Okay.
On the fire. They're a separate district.
Yep. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of what we are doing.
Sure.
So that there are no questions. I would also like, Vertical Access is the preservation technology firm, and there is a woman who I would like to have come to the property to be able to show the students the different technology that preservationists use. And so she would be just demonstrating like fiber optic infrared thermography so that, we can see
Any
how it
issues from
works.
the commission?
No, none, so none. More information we get, the better off.
The same thing in terms of waivers,
Yep.
legal issues.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
Okay.
That's easy enough.
Great. And then allow for the National Trust for Historic Preservation nomination to be submitted on March 1st.
No issues.
No.
Just going right down the list.
Yeah.
Everybody that's here.
Encourage it.
Cool.
Okay, that's all easy so
all right.
far. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Great. There are 2 grants out there right now, the AD Makepeace Neighborhood Fund and the MA Preservation Project Fund. I am interested in pursuing funding for large format photography and additional preservation technology.
We're all in favor.
Well, all good.
Okay, great. And those are actually due mid-March. So, and I don't...
Would you be applying for these through your program?
Probably.
If anything, if you're requesting anything from the town or the board, right, then you need to direct with Mr. Sullivan.
Okay. I probably need to have some discussions, but the thought was that I would
Okay.
be doing it
Yeah, if you're doing it through the school, then obviously you probably wouldn't need us. But if you're going to use Wareham or you need to work with Mr. Sullivan, okay?
Sounds good. Great. And then continue to work with the Conservation Department and Commission to do a request for determination for conservation maintenance plan. Because even though it's pretty basic, we're doing some weeding and stuff, there are some areas along the fish ladder and the waterway that we need to be careful about. And
Yeah.
Dave and I walked the property, and when it gets to the point, because we'd like to phase this, when we get to that point where we're working along the waterway, he and I are going to go down and we are going to handpick or tag the items that are going to stay. Because there are trees there, some birches that are actually very nice, but because they're all growing very close together, they're not really growing as they should. And then there are some invasive species that really need to be taken off. And especially on the freight building, we actually have poison ivy growing up the two sides of the buildings and infiltrating behind the cedar shingles. That has to be dealt with.
Well, on that angle, you need to work with
Yep.
Mr. Sullivan and the conservation.
Not a problem. But Dave is, matter of fact, I saw him today. He asked how things were going. And I am going to be developing a plan with pictures and descriptions based off our discussions.
Yeah.
So that, and how we would like to approach this is we would like to have volunteers. And one of the things that I have been thinking about is I think the Wareham schools, especially the high school, have a community service requirement. And this could be a great opportunity for them to not only learn about conservation, do service for the community, but also maybe learn a little about the town's history and some science.
And one floor below Mr. Sullivan's office is Dr. Rabinovich's office.
Great. And so I'd be working with the Wareham School Committee or whoever else I need to get that approved. And then finally,
And when
yes.
if you send an email to the good doctor, you can copy Jeff Sweat, who's the chairman of the school committee.
Great.
I'm sure they'd be more than happy to. I was going to say dig up volunteers, but that's probably not a good thing.
We're going to
Gather volunteers for you.
incite. No, we're going to excite the volunteers.
Yeah.
We're going to make them excited.
That'd be
to
great.
Do the
Yeah,
work.
you know the kids they're always looking for projects to work on, and if we don't go and ask them,
they're not going to know.
they don't have anything to do. So
Right.
This is
So yes, so that's one. I think that's a strategy that I would like to go for. And in the future, this isn't on the list because, frankly, I just haven't gotten there yet. But I really would like to work with the school committee to somehow develop some curriculum about design, about science, history, that incorporates Tremont now, because we have a very unique situation here and a good teachable moment, and we really should take advantage of it.
I'm sure Dr. Rabinovich and Mr. Sweat would be happy to sit down and talk to you about this.
Okay. And then finally, I would love at some point to have some media coverage of all this work, both either the Boston Globe, the Standard Times, local TV station.
We have Bob White, who's sitting behind that wall. No, he's behind the wall over
Great.
here. He's done some great local documentation for our Wareham cable TV. But
I think this is a great opportunity because this is really about a collaboration
Yeah.
process.
there's a
And
lot of history channels out there
Yeah.
that I think would love to
It-
get their hands on this project and do a documentary on it. Absolutely.
So I think we
Do
have.
we have
some
any issues
opportunities.
with that, town council? Wow.
No, great. Wow, I'm just on a roll.
You what? Oh.
And really, that's.
I think if you're gonna have media coming in, I think it would be good to just keep Mr. Sullivan there abreast of,
Oh yes,
because
Yes,
he may want to
absolutely.
participate or
I wouldn't have.
right. It's always good to let him know.
wanting to do
It's
the
always good to
selectmen.
let him know. I'll tell you, I was kind of shocked. I was looking something up on the internet this week, and there was a question about, are you paying too much for your insurance? Are you getting ripped off, I think was the question.
Mm.
And it was a cruiser, a Wareham police cruiser in that commercial. No, I didn't even know we did that commercial. It was a Wareham, Massachusetts police cruiser and a police officer standing there. And there was something about if you only drive 15 to 23 miles a day or something, you could get a big reduction on your insurance. So I saved the website for you, Mr. Sullivan. I forgot to mention that to you, but you can find out what our cruisers doing and our police officers doing in that commercial. Did you know about it? See, it's always good to let him know. So that
I've been CCing him on
yeah.
emails, so
Thank you.
I will continue to do so.
She's been great, and about that, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think this is great stuff.
Good. That would conclude the presentation for
Sure.
this evening.
Comments
Yeah.
from the
Well, the other
committee
thing I
first.
wanted to say was that this is probably going to lead to a much bigger project that she has really nothing to do with. And we are creating a historic iron trail of southeastern New England, or southeastern Massachusetts. It encourages 16 towns to get involved, at least 16 towns, in this project. And the whole idea is to bring attention to the iron industry, Wareham being a very central part of it at the time that it was a big deal around here. And the whole idea is to try to encourage tourism, to group together to take advantage of grants, to get more historic research done, to support the towns will support each other and so forth and so on. And the type of research that she's doing here is going to add greatly to that project. Good. And that's an ongoing project that's happening right now.
Mr. Titlebaum?
It's all been very fascinating, actually. And thank you for your past work and what sounds like is going to be a busy semester with you and your students.
It's going to be probably several busy semesters. I consider this kind of a long-term haul, and because I am a resident here, I feel pretty strongly about committing myself to this. So you will probably see me around a bit more often.
Anytime you'd like to come in and do this and update the townsfolk on what's going on, you just let us know and
Great.
let Mac know, and they'll
yeah.
get you on the agenda. And the more updates and the more publicity you get, the better off
Great.
it'll be for you.
I actually do probably want to come in at the end of, or actually the beginning of May, and I will notify whoever, because then we will have more of a presentation for you on what we've accomplished.
Anytime.
Great.
You can come here.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
I've been working with him for a while. And this has been a project that goes back with Mac and I, with Tremont Nail, trying to figure out what we were going to do with the facility. And he and I kind of didn't agree a few times about starting a small piece versus the whole piece. And this actually gets to where Mac really wants to go, is developing this all as one project, and not taking a little piece to get something started, and hopefully something will fall together. The whole concept of what's trying to be done is really great because the town doesn't have the assets to make it happen. All we do is spend money, and we receive about $4,000 a month in rental income, which doesn't even begin to cover anything. So I'm looking forward to all of this. And do you feel we should make a motion just to vote for support? Not necessarily not.
Need a motion for support. Support of what?
Project using town property.
I think the board we've just given her access to everybody in town. All the
Okay.
free access she wants here, everything she needs.
Asking the
I think we all
question.
agreed.
Okay.
Mr. Bowen agreed he wants to look at some documents to make sure we're legally covered.
Yep.
And the town administrator, we're all in support.
Yeah. No, they have a list of all. They also Sal Peener is also included in the emails back and forth as well to keep him involved. So it's been a very
Whatever resources they need, they can
Yeah.
get.
No, it's been a good project all the way through
Great.
so far.
Well,
Information
thank you.
flows.
This is probably a good opportunity to mention the fact that we have a small group of people who kind of informally call themselves the Friends of Tremont Nail, and they would like to volunteer to help out with a lot of these projects. They're townspeople, and we'd like to get our hands on and get some down there to clean the place up.
And
to
if
bring
they're looking
attention
for
to it.
members, I mean, we can give them
Well, I
free
thought maybe
advertisements.
If I said it here, we might get some members.
And now, I saw something, was asking me a question about this, the 20 hours. Is that related to this, the grant? At 20 hours?
There was something else from CETA and Serped on the 20 hours, and I've got the the email here, and we can
Oh, you
speak
got it.
about
You got it somewhere else. Okay. All right. Great. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
it. Have a good evening.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be great. Anything you need from us, please let us know.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't see her, so I guess I'll just have derailed the presentation.
Mr. Chair, I think,
Talking about Jean.
Mr. Chair, your email had said March 5th, and Shirley read it as, I was just
Oh, was
like,
it March?
It was March 5th.
Oh, well, maybe she's coming in March.
Yeah, it's a sort of a Back to the Future type moment.
That's okay. What is this on the town meeting stuff?
Special town meeting.
What special town meeting?
Mr. Chair, during the regular town meeting, you usually have a special town meeting that opens up in it. During the first set, it wasn't called for, and I had reminded the office that we should do that every spring to have that available.
All right. Good deal.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure what you were talking about. That's all right. Let's go ahead and make a motion and done. Right? Mr. You're next.
2013, special town meeting, Commonwealth of Mass, to either of the constables of the town of Wareham in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, in accordance with the provisions of Division 1, Article 1, Section 3 of the bylaws of the town of Wareham. Amended, you are hereby directed to notify and warn legal voters of the town of Wareham that a special town meeting has been called by the Board of Selectmen and held at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, April 22nd, 2013, at which time the business of the town meeting shall be transacted. The last day for submission of articles to be inserted in this warrant is Friday, March 15th. The warrant for this meeting will close on Tuesday, March 19th.
I hear so moved down there. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 300. Anything else on that? You're all set?
Also,
Mr. Underhill. We've been looking forward to this for a while.
Good
I see
evening.
I see the word finalize on there.
Well, we hope to.
Oh, we're still hoping.
I guess I'm here to answer any possible questions that the selectmen may have in the agreement that's been drawn up between Wareham Community TV and the town of Wareham.
I think, Peter, we'll just go around the table. How's that?
I've seen the latest draft, and also the second agreement as well. And just so everybody knows, town council's worked diligently on this, and I don't have any comments in particular.
Alan?
we've spent some time, we've gone through the contracts. I think at this point here, we probably, if nobody has any input as far as any changes that have been put together, we forward it off to, if town council feels it appropriate, to WCTV for them to go through it, make any revisions or any questions they have, looking at the dollar amounts, which is all explained in a very good spreadsheet that Matt's provided. And then at that point there, maybe 2 weeks from now, we have them come back to us and we get this ironed out. Just for the audience, this has been going on since 2006.
2007 was when the original contract was signed.
Okay, I have a document.
The last contract with Verizon.
Why do we keep saying that?
The last
There's
contract
never been
with-
one signed.
The last contract with Verizon was
Yep.
signed in 2007.
Oh, but this has nothing to do with Verizon.
Well, it has
Well,
to-
the funding that provides through
funding
this
comes through.
comes
I
from
understand that
from
part, but we're
Verizon.
talking about this is the Wareham Community
Yeah, that's
Television Agreement with the town
With
of
the town of
Wareham.
Wareham, correct.
Not the Comcast,
and
not
that-
the Verizon.
Yep.
That's different.
Correct.
And that
So
goes
let's
back to
keep 'em separate.
2006. We need to get this done and finished. This has been a long wedding.
Well, I saw you sent that email out. My question is, are we sure that we have fully vetted this money? There's two issues. One is the contract, so let's do that first.
Yep.
That we've all read it 100 times now. You're pretty comfortable with it? And so the next step would be to send that off to WCTV, have them look at it, their board look at it, and then at that point, the two boards should meet in an open or executive session. So once we do that, we'll meet in open session.
Yes.
Here, we'll do it here, I guess, and at that night we can kick it back and forth, and you'll be there, and we can sign off on it. It's a done deal.
Exactly.
That's for the contract.
Right.
The second piece, who's going to deliver that, Matt? Are you who's delivering the piece to them?
Well, I'm assuming
You're going to do it. You're going to give it one more review and then shoot it off to their attorney, or
I'll look it over again tomorrow if the board approves, and I would say by the end of the day tomorrow, Attorney Ishihara will have this in her hands.
okay, good. There we go. Done.
Great.
And then we can schedule that 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You want to give them 2 weeks?
Yeah, should be fine.
Unless they're back sooner, but we'll schedule it for the 20.
I believe.
What
for
is 2 weeks? The 19th?
Selectman Titlebaum will be.
Yeah, let's go for the 26th. That way we're done. And if there's no aggressive changes, then we can get it done on the 26th.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Part 2 deals with the money.
The fund-
Past due and
there's two sets of funding. One is the capital portion of it, which comes in annually from Verizon. That has been verified with the town accountant's office that that money is sitting in an account, as well as the 4% gross revenues that do come from both Comcast and Verizon, amounting to $117,000 for Comcast and $89,000 from Verizon, and that is sitting in an account right now, waiting to be released.
all right, any questions on this now?
None for me.
Mr. Sullivan? You reviewed this?
Mr. Underhill had provided this to me before. The town accountant agrees with the numbers, and this is the best sort of information that we have on this, and I appreciate all the work that you've done with us, Mr. Underhill.
All right, and my question goes back to a couple of years ago when we met, and there were some questions about pre-2005. And I just want to make sure that both sides now agree that this is over. That's was my concern.
Well, that's, between, obviously the Cable Commission as the Board of Selectmen and the Access Corp, WCTV.
All right.
I can't answer for them.
We had the same route with this document, Rich. You'll
Yes.
send it to them, and then they'll agree on the number, and this will then bring us level and even, and we go forward.
Go
with the
forward
new-
from there, correct.
Everything is cleaned up, right? Good. Works for me. Same schedule? All right.
Have to sign agreement. So it should
Thank you very much, Matt. That's
You're welcome.
a lot of work on your part, I know.
appreciate it.
Unfortunately, I'm the only person that's still here from back then, so the only one that has the knowledge and the history
That
of
could be, it could mean a couple things, so maybe you are fortunate.
Write it all down before you get hit by a truck.
It's all in the office somewhere.
Now, while we're on the subject, I see there's been, I'll give you 30 seconds, but just to bring the folks up to date on where we're at on the overall contract with the town. Now we're talking about a different contract, the contract between Verizon and Wareham and Comcast and Wareham.
Okay, Verizon, the Verizon contract still is in play. The state gives you 3 years prior to the expiration of a contract to start the negotiation process. The Board of Selectmen has created a cable advisory committee to act in their place to work on the new contract. The Cable Advisory Committee has been meeting. They're working on some ascertainment processes that they hope to soon bring in front of the board for your approval before we submit them. One of them is a survey that we'd like to get out to the general public, at this point we've trying to get our ducks in a row before we actually start inviting the cable company to start attending the meetings and really getting into the meat of the negotiations.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Have a good night.
Have a great trip home and drive safely.
Hope to.
Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Matt.
Good work, Matt.
Mr. Chair, going back to the question regarding the email on Serped. Right now, we only have a representative with Serped from the planning board, which
Right.
allows us 20 hours. We need to appoint somebody from the Board of Selectmen, which will give us another 20 hours. And
We did this already.
Something happened, can't answer.
Something happened?
They don't have the information.
they don't have the record of it, so I have the sheet here that I'd like to, if we can appoint somebody, get it filled out, we can make sure it gets up there and we get the extra.
Let's
receive
get
the
it
extra
done,
20
yeah. I mean,
hours.
it seems to me we've already voted on this at least once.
This is just ministerial, so.
It just never got there. There's two different things that Surf had.
Yeah.
Something happened. I believe you.
Well,
were
give
going
us
to
a
be the-
motion, then do we need to vote again? Or?
No, I believe we voted for you. I thought you were gonna be the Serpent Commissioner.
Yeah, and you're the alternate.
Yeah.
I thought I saw all this paperwork already.
You don't need a motion, this is just executing the document to bring the motion into effect.
Well, I think this is the third time that's come up now. So that, we're all set on that. Okay, Mr. Sullivan?
The next item that we received was from the Plymouth County Mosquito Control Project regarding their budget. We pay that through our state assessments. Their budget has gone up approximately $105,000. Not all of that is to the town of Wareham, but we do contribute a significant part of that. What they're requesting is to sign whether we support or do not support this budget. And it would have to be from the chairman. What I've been doing on these for the ones that are from me is any that have large increases, I've not been supporting. So I would ask the board do not support this, sign that and send it back. I do understand they have increases, but given our budget situation and what we're going through, I don't think it's the right thing to support any budget increases.
Rich, have you looked at the document?
Don't think I've seen it.
Well, it's pretty simple. Do not support.
While Mr. Bowen.
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
While Mr. Bowen looks at that, the other item that we have is an annual item from the Harbor Master's Office, which is the smelt regulations that you have in your packet there. It's just, it would give the catch limit, the size of the net, and that's something that comes before the board every year. I believe it's a 1 month time frame on there.
I believe we have to vote on that.
Yes, that one would need to be voted, please.
Make a motion that we accept
Seems pretty simple
the
enough,
smelt
right?
regulations for 2013
Huh?
I've never seen anything like it.
as supplied by the harbor master. You're welcome.
I did. I don't think he knows we have a motion.
Get a motion in a second.
All in
Smelt
favor?
regulations.
Smell.
Aye.
Opposed? 300.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The smelts are happy.
Oh, thank you.
And I believe that would be it for a quick short.
Anything else? Liaisons? Oh, yes. I did meet last, I don't remember what day it was, Tuesday, Wednesday. I met with our town administrator, Dr. Rabinovich, Jeff Sweat, and myself, to carry forward the message that, the Board of Selectmen are willing and eager to work with the school department. I'll address it the same way Jeff did the other night, I guess, in general terms, because we really, there were no proposals on the table. There was nothing specific to be discussed, but, we represent the town of Wareham, the 2 elected boards in town. And we're going to work together with Mr. Sullivan and Dr. Rabinovich to do the best we can for the town of Wareham. Not about the town, it's not about the schools, it's about the town of Wareham. So I coming away from there, it was a great meeting. I thought one of the better meetings I've attended, just to see the cooperation between the town administrator and the school superintendent. I don't think I've seen that here in a very, very long time. And as this board voted recently, that we will continue to have joint meetings with the school department, and our hope is that the finance committee would join in that effort, but we will continue to meet jointly as a team. Mr. Sullivan will be providing the Board of Selectmen with some dates for the initial meeting, and I know the school department met last Wednesday. They got some numbers through, and then we'll be meeting with the school committee as well. There are some issues that Rich and their attorneys have to work on, so that some of this stuff can be discussed publicly. We have to be careful of what we're out there talking about, but and so hopefully before we head to town meeting, that we'll have a unified message, at least between the 2 elected boards in town, and hopefully the finance committee. So more to follow on that. I think we were talking about like 3 weeks from now, right? Or 2 weeks from now. I think our first meeting will be like 2 or 3 weeks from now. I forget what the dates were. But. So between Derek and Dr. Rabinovich, they'll be getting that information out to us, and we'll get those scheduled. We're going to try to keep them around Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So if we meet on a Tuesday, we'll do it here. If we meet on a Wednesday, we'll do it there like we did the last time, right? So it's convenient. There's no. And if we need, we also talked about a workshop where we may need an extended period of time, right?
Mr. Chair, there's also
If there's anything I'm missing there, feel free to add.
one thing that's a major piece of our budget that I think I would love to get before all 3 of the boards is the Upper Cape Cod Tech.
Right.
That would be a key element.
I'd like to ask if we could, through the chair, if we could have, I think Richard Fitchman, I think he's our appointed.
He is, Bob.
representative, Bob,
Yeah.
to come and talk to us a little bit about the increases. Sorry. I believe the increases they're proposing is something in the area of 19% this year.
Yeah. And we can certainly, Mr. Sullivan will take note of that and get that on the agenda.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Titlebaum?
Just briefly, we hope this week that the logger will be back out along Indian Neck Road to recommence the red pine harvest. There's been a bit of an intermission in that, but we're looking forward to him coming back out there. I met last week with Angie Dunham, the chair of the Minot Forest Committee, and also our forester. And the plan was to have him back out there this week. I continue to check it every day to see whether he's been there or not, notwithstanding that I should be able to hear the noise of the equipment anyway. But if you see him back out working, then he's doing what he's supposed to do. Please drive slowly in that area, and pretty soon all the dead trees will be down, and that'll take care of the problem.
I have no reports this week.
Okay, I apologize for a misconfusion on the CETA thing. Mrs. Connaughton will be coming at some point. And again, and this all goes to this, policy that we're trying to create that, maybe it's Macha, because I think she's playing golf, so I'm sure she's not coming today. She's in warm weather. And it just goes to lend itself to the attitude of this board that, we'd like for various boards to meet. Mrs. Connaughton will be coming in. We're hoping maybe every 6 weeks or so to update the town on, not here to update us, they're here to update you on the ongoings of what's going on with CETA, what projects are they working on, what kinds of things are going on. So they will be coming in to do that, and we hope that we have a whole series of these types of meetings like tonight. That was great, having the Tremont group in, so that you're aware that things are going on and things are happening in town and people are working together, and I think it's just an important message to send, and I think it's great that we have them folks coming in here on television to keep you informed. Anything else? With that, I would, the board met earlier in executive session, and we need to reconvene that executive session to go back and finish work on contract negotiations and litigation. That would be detrimental to have that discussion in public. We will not come back in open session. Once that's done, we anticipate it's probably going to be about 15 minutes. So if I could get a so moved and seconded on that.
So moved. Second.
By Mr. Slavin. Roll call vote. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin? Mr. Holmes? Yes. We will take a recess of 10 minutes to clear the room. Allow Mr. White to shut his machines off. Is that okay? Got it? Mr. Sullivan, you'll be staying. Thank you very much for coming and attending, and we look forward to seeing you next week.